Tassenball, of course, in the Big Ten, now in the top 25. But we've also been paying tribute to my friend, the late, great David Modell, first president of the Ravens, and along with his father, moved the team here. And this guy was a huge, huge part of it. He was the first member of the Ravens Ring of Honor, probably more due to his incredible relationship with the Modell family. We welcome back former Cleveland Brown, Raven, and we forget about that point with the Redskins. We welcome back Earnest Byner, who, hey, man, how you doing? How you hanging in there? You're working with kids, right? You work with people, right?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a tearful, cheerful week. You know, when we lose somebody like David, man, you if you spend as much time with him, and I know you did with Art and David and all that. We lost Ted Marchibroda last year, and I know you came on to talk about Ted a little bit too. It really reminds you how much time you spent with these people. You know, I mean, how many different times and ways and weirdness that I interacted with David Modell in all sorts of ways over 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. The amazing thing is that David was genuine to me. I mean, he was a guy that you knew where he stood on subjects. You knew where he stood as far as whether you were one of his people or not as well. I mean, he really was like a brother to me. Mr. Modell sat me down like he was a father figure to me. He sat me down, talked to me about what he wanted me to do. David, in a very similar manner, brotherly, had me come down to the old office and sit down with him. I used to go down there, man. He smoked the cigars. Liked to relax, man. It was very, very pleasant for me to be able to go down there and have a talk with David, who is the president of an organization, but treated me like family.
You were there for all the tough times, and I, back when the Browns were the Browns and winning football games and playing in the drive and everything you represented there. But then to come back after winning in Washington and be sort of an elder statesman at a time when, did you know they were having money problems? Did you have any sort of inkling or anticipation along with guys like, and Ozzie wasn't in a position of real management then. He was just sort of a lowly coach kind of thing going on. Belichick ran the place at that time, and you were just trying to hang on and run the football, right? Just trying to get a few more years out of your career at that point and try to win another championship. I think it came as a shock to so many people, and people like you that knew them before they came to Baltimore. The vilification of that family in Cleveland and everywhere outside of Baltimore, there were very nasty things written about his death this week. But you knew them in a different way, and I certainly didn't know what went wrong in Cleveland. I just knew they went broke,
Right. And you know what? And this is what you know about the family, and this is what I know, is that they're good people. Mr. Modell was good people, and he ran his family in a very similar manner. David was good people. Because when you looked at someone who needed some help, when you knew that somebody was struggling, you knew that the Modells were going to step in and step up and take care of the guys in a way that was building. That's why the organization is run the way it's run now, because of what was bequeathed through Mr. Modell to David, to Ozzie, and also to Steve Bisciotti. I think, when Steve came in, they opened their arms to him, taught him the basics. And I don't think he's gotten away from the things that Art and David and Ozzie and them have been able to pass down to the organization. The Ravens are the Ravens, and they're in the position almost every year of being in the playoffs, of being winners, because of Art and David and the way that they ran the organization.
during the move, and I know it's hard to put yourself back into that mind frame and seeing what they went through. I mean, Art had, real physical issues after that. And I said, look, not to be disrespectful to Art, but when by the time they got to Baltimore and all the fighting was done, during that 6-month period of time where Art was kicking the dogs on the Sports Illustrated covers and he couldn't go out of the house and, left everything behind in Cleveland, never to be seen again. When the thing emerged in April and May, when Ozzy's running the place and they're drafting John Ogden and they're drafting Ray Lewis and they didn't even have a logo, they didn't have a team name. You moved your family here and you had children at the time. To think that 21 years later, and Ernie, you know what it was like. I mean, the Orioles owned this town, right? I mean, the Ravens, you had those crazy black pants and those purple tops, and, we weren't very good. We were 4-12, those early years that you were a part of. Did you ever think that it could become what it's become? Because a lot of people don't remember, bro. You were on the bus when David pulled into Owings Mills Boulevard as a coach on that team and walked that trophy up and down Owings Mills Boulevard. I mean, you were there to see the glory of why the move mattered and what it allowed their family not only to have from a business standpoint, but for the kind of legacy they would want to leave, which is the Ravens own this town, Ernest. You know that. You've been here enough.
Right. Right. I mean, one of the things that stands out to me is, even in Cleveland, we had winners. Mr. Modell had winners. Sometimes they went through a spell of where the team wasn't as successful, but the foundation again that he had was something that just transcend the move. And I think some of the vilification that he went through as far as moving the team from Cleveland to Baltimore, it actually almost turned into another dimension or another type of energy that assisted in the process of the Ravens becoming a success story and also continuing the success that Mr. Modell and David, because of that family atmosphere, because they took care of the people that worked for them. They gave people the opportunity to move down with them. And I believe the loyalty factor that the fans that have now for the Ravens was in kind from the Modells to the organization. So I believe it was really a critical thing in that way.
But the energy really in Baltimore. Yeah, the energy in Baltimore was all David, though. And I think when Art passed a few years ago, everyone honored Art. And, David was never to pat himself on the back because neither one of them could figure out how to get it right so they didn't have to sell the team. I mean, the real tragedy is that, they got a lot of money and they cashed out, but David would have far preferred to have never sold the team to Steve and paint his legacy in that way. It didn't work out that way. But all that being said, as I pointed out, when they got here, Art was a bit of a broken down older man, and someone had to take the ball and run with it. And, all due respect to you and Ozzy, who was, just trying to draft the right guys, someone had to run the business, sell the PSLs, put the stadium together, name the team, talk to the media, answer all the tough questions, take on everyone that was trying to kick at his father, who was in failing health at that point. I mean, that road was very heavy for David, and I don't think he ever got any credit for it. And it's been 15 years later, and I'm trying to, in these kind of conversations, really, really point out that, time will not dim the glory of his deeds because the Ravens are the Ravens because of his energy. And I don't think anybody ever in the media here or even around the organization really saw that in a way that maybe I saw it in the bigger picture of not having a team and the other options of maybe Georgia Frontieri brought her team here or Al Davis or Bill Bidwell or some of these other owners. And you've worked in good organizations and bad organizations now. You know better. And, what David did here is monumental. I mean, the Chargers and the Rams could only hope that 20 years from now, some David Modell and Steve Bisciotti can make those franchises out there what we've become here,
Right. Absolutely. I mean, because you really got to feel and know, what it took for them, first and foremost, to go through the move, to have to move the team, to really, take a franchise that they know meant the world to the fans up there, but move it to Baltimore and have to live through that first and foremost. But then also have the energy to build and bring things together in such a way that it will start to become a success in Baltimore. And obviously having to sell the team, that had to break their hearts. But also having the understanding that they needed to help the future owner be able to be the type of owner, because Steve came in it from a totally different dimension, and he also came in it in a humble way. He didn't just come in and just take over the organization and say, "Hey, I'm just going to run this the way I want to run it." He actually came in a learning mentality, and that gave the Modells an opportunity to bequeath information and how-tos to a owner who really could have came in and did things a lot differently. And what it did was it caused the team to actually be able to really take off from a really nice, solid foundation, and then having the understanding to go out and work on hiring Brian Billick at a time, we still building. I mean, in reality, man, that was one of those things didn't happen or don't happen if you don't have the type of people that you had with Art Modell and David Modell.
It's a hell of a story, isn't it, Ernest? I mean, really. I mean, 21
Absolutely.
years later, what it's become, and David's passing this week has really brought it all back to me. I mean, everything you're saying, I've been writing about, and I knew anyone on the inside would feel that way. And it's funny, I didn't even really remember your work in player personnel and then your work as a running backs coach. I mean, that you worked for Brian. You saw that transition, and you saw the transition of ownership, at the end as well. And I would agree the number one thing that David did, aside from giving us a cool color and a cool stadium and a vibe, and look, he left great people behind. You know how I know that? Kevin Byrne, Bob Eller, Baker Koppelman, Roy Summerhoff, people nobody even knows about, not to mention, the people around, the building and the people that run the stadiums, the Joby Walshes and Joby Waltz and these other people that have been around the organization that Steve just didn't. Steve took David's hires, and 20 years later, they're still here. Front office, Ozzie all the way down, that's never, ever changed.
Absolutely. See, that's that loyalty factor that people don't understand about what causes teams to be consistent over the long haul. And I guarantee you, some of the very first people that were hired when we were in Owens Mills are probably still in that organization. The janitors, the receptionists,
That's for sure.
All of those type of people are people that, that loyalty factor is really, really keen to me, from with the Modells, and they passed that on to Steve. I tell you the truth, I think I would still be a part of the organization if David and Art were still a part of that. I just believe that, because of the loyalty factor that they had with players that they loved, and I just feel like I would be there if that was the case, if they were still running the organization.
He is Earnest Byner, a longtime running back. You know him well. And, of course, in the Ravens Ring of Honor, we're remembering David Modell. What are you doing with yourself? You coached for almost 15 years in the league after playing almost 15 years in the league. You've done a lot of football there. And,
Right.
I won't say you're on the back nine of this thing here, but, I mean, I hope you're enjoying life, what you're doing right now. I have a feeling it has something to do with football, right?
It is, and I'm actually down at IMG Academy and training some running backs for the NFL. They say we're doing combine training, but it's really comprehensive, and I'm going through all the stuff that I would teach the guys, even that if I were coaching in the league. That's what type of training that we're doing down here, for these guys. And the other thing that I'm doing, Nestor, I go out and I do speaking engagements. That's another way that I get to be able to coach people. That's another way I get to give back. And, a lot of what I give is based on the book. I wrote a little book called Everybody Fumbles, and so I sell those, and we do speaking engagements, and we try to help people develop and actually learn to actually love themselves from an inside out perspective. And the other thing that I'm doing is we created a business called the Original Dogs, and we have products on the originaldogs.com, theoriginaldogs.com, where people can go on and buy popcorn, pretzels, cheeses, beef jerky, and because we're partnered with a company out of Millersburg, Ohio, that puts the products together. They've been around since the 1930s. So we got good products, we got good people that we're working with, and so we're actually trying to get those products out.
Well, I tell you what, man, I see you on here. I mean, sometimes I forget you were a Cleveland Brown and how much they love you out there, man. But
they do love me. They do love me.
This website's all 86 Browns. It's pretty cool. Marty Schottenheimer on there as well. Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to mention is, we do this thing called Drills for Life, which is a part of the Healing Dogs, which is my nonprofit. I go out and I teach people breathing techniques, but also use football drills to help people with the basics, and also again, talk about building people up and teaching, teaching emotional maturity, how to develop, how to handle success, but also how to handle failure. So you'll be able to stay in a balanced aspect of life. So it's been a blessing, Nestor, to be able to go out and do some of the things that I've been able to do, and do the speaking engagement, do the autograph things, and sell my book. So it's been a blessing.
Everybody Fumbles is the book. You can find it on Amazon. I got it up in front of me right now. I also share a link out on that. You can buy that through the Give a Spit app and help our friends at There Goes My Hero here locally. The Healing Dogs and all your products are up there. TheOriginalDogs.com. It's all Brown stuff. I don't know how that's going to sell in Baltimore, Ernest.
But sell in Baltimore. I can tell you this. It's good products, though. I can tell you that. Hey, and the other way that they can get the book, Nestor, is they can get it on my website, EarnestByner21.com.
EarnestByner21.com. Hey, man, love you. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. Right. And I know what an incredible special bond you had with David. Man, Ernie, the amount of love on Tuesday in that room, it was just it was incredible. How well-liked he was and how well thought of he was and how respected he was by the people that really knew him.
Well, I wish I'd have known that they were having the funeral yesterday. For some reason I didn't get that information, but I'm glad that he was laid to rest the right way. I'm glad that he had the type of turnout that he did. David and Art were a blessing to me. They showed me a lot of love, and I'm forever in debt to the Modell family.
Be well. Enjoy the beautiful music down in Nashville. We'll get together soon. Maybe I'll see you at the Combine in Indy in a few weeks. Thanks for coming on, Ernest.
Sounds good, Nestor. Good talking to you.
Appreciate you. I always run into Earnest Byner at the Combine. It's always on one of those bridges going somewhere through Indianapolis. We'll be at the Combine. We'll also be at the Super Bowl next week, or week after next, I should say, in Houston. All things Super Bowl 51. We'll see who's going to get there and how we're going to complain about it, especially from the AFC side. There are no winners there, just degrees of bad between Pittsburgh and New England. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. I do appreciate all the kind feedback on David Modell this week that I've seen on social media. Many of you know David brought the trophy out to everybody, and everybody touched David, has pictures of him and the trophy from back in the era, and it was really neat to see all that show up on social media this week. So lots of sharing, lots of caring. We all love the Ravens. It's why I'm here. I know that, and I echo Earnest Byner's sentiments that I am forever indebted to Art and David for bringing the team here, and I never sort of lose sight of that. Didn't stop me from asking tough questions sometimes. David didn't always like that, but we got along fine. That's the true sign of character, someone that takes the tough questions and understands you have to ask tough questions. We got a baseball team that doesn't do that, and that's been a point that's not lost on me over a quarter of a century of doing that. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.